Hi guys, welcome back to Retrospecked. Today's video is a mixed media collage with Batman and a Satsuma for some reason. So today I'm doing just this small little collage in my sketchbook that for some reason I felt like I needed to do, and I needed to take you guys along with me for that little journey. So I started out by looking through a comic book, and I found a bad comic book, not a valuable one, and I found a picture of Batman that I liked, and I cut it out in a creative way. And that is what the weird little pencil outline you'll see that is beside the Satsuma, that's what that is. I sort of planned where I wanted the comic book image and the Satsuma to overlap. So right now I'm just doing a very loose job painting in this Satsuma. I just went on Google Images and searched for Satsuma with leaves and found one that I liked and kind of stuck to it, kind of took some creative liberty with the leaves and the shadows and whatnot. And now I'm just painting it in roughly with gouache. I wanted this to be a really quick collage and a really quick painting, so I haven't paid a lot of attention to making it look really hyper realistic or even really that good. I just wanted to get the paint down and sort of make it look more gestural. So that's why it doesn't look as polished as some of my November food paintings, is because it's just a lot quicker and a lot more sloppy. But that was kind of the effect I was going for. So you'll notice that with the leaves, I just sort of experiment with putting more chunky bits of color down, more painterly, less smooth and blended, more choppy brush strokes showing and whatnot. This whole painting is just a little bit of an experiment, you know. It's always fun to do these, especially in a sketchbook. That's what they're for, so that's why I've got minimal plan in mind. Now I'm just going in and trying to bring these leaves a little bit more credibility and adding some more shadows and lowlights to the orange, bringing in some of a bit of a, I think it's a Chinese orange is the name of the color that I just added there. I'm using mostly Winsor Newton designer gouache for this painting. I have a palette full of just the Winsor Newton gouache that I sometimes like to use because they are the regular gouache, not the acrylic gouache, so they're water soluble and reactivated with water, so I don't have to keep pouring out new paints on my palette. I find it's really great when I just want to pick up my palette and get some water and just paint really quickly. The only color that I did put down was the white, because the white is that sort of acrylic one that dries. So most of these colors are the Winsor Newton. And then I thought I would add in some, I think it's red oxide gouache for the sort of dark red outline. And then I thought, let's get creative and add a bit of a blue background, but cutting it off. The way I've cut off the piece, the comic book piece, the Batman piece, is very crisp corners, so I thought I would emulate that with the way I taped off and painted this area. Again, no plan in mind, just sort of going with the flow. That's what I usually do for my abstract pieces, and I viewed this piece in much the same way, but I consider this piece more of a collage than an abstract, just because there's not a lot of abstract stuff going here. You can clearly tell it's an orange. And now I'm just going back and cleaning up some of those outlines that got painted over with. I really like these Trekell brushes that I have. I use this #1 liner brush all the time. It's got a longer bristle. It springs back really well, so it's good for curves, good for outlines, and fine details. And now I'm adding in some yellow and white colors to the leaves. When I watch it now, it kind of looks a bit weird, but I just went with it. I didn't really bother to blend that in very well. And here's the back of the piece of comic book from the Batman, and I'm just putting some gloss medium as glue on it. And there you go. So you'll see that is a really sharp corner there, and I'm just going to put a bit more of the gel medium on top of that to make it all smooth. And I kind of forgot to erase the pencil guidelines, and they showed a bit, so I'm going in with some white gouache and just covering up those pencil lines. and giving a bit of a highlight to the Satsuma. The white gouache, I think, adds a bit of that covered up kind of painterly feel to it, so I don't mind it. And just tidying up some more lines. I decided that it needed another color in this piece, so I added in some bright pink. I think that's opera pink, another Winsor Newton designer gouache, and it's really nice bright pink. It's nice and clean, but it's got a lot of peppy neonness to it, so you can really do some nice bright pinks with that as opposed to like more of a dusty color or a coral pink. It's one of my newer colors and I'm really happy with it. And now I just decided to carry on the swoosh that's in the bottom of the comic that you can't see right now and carry it on through the belt. I find that when you do collages like this, mimicking shapes or carrying them throughout the design helps to add a sense of cohesion and unity, so I've tried to do that. You can see just by his boot there's a bit of a swoosh, a speed swoosh, so I've added that to his belt. And then I like to sometimes paint over the collaged element to sort of integrate it even a bit more, so that's why I went over the belt, just to give it a bit more texture. It looks basically the same, but it was fun to do it anyways. And now I'm changing his Batman underpants to purple and adding a bit of purple in his boots. No real reason there, I just felt that it would be interesting to change it up a little bit. I mean, we all know it's Batman, but you don't need to be that overt with your Batman-ness, I guess. And now I'm just using a Staedtler fine liner to go in and touch up some of the line work in those small detailed areas. I normally would do this with a brush, but I'm starting to find that the brush is harder to get really tiny details that I want. And then I thought I would add a bit more texture to the Satsuma with an orange gel pen just to give it a bit more of that speckled look. It was kind of an afterthought to use the Vermillion colored pencil crayon there. I didn't really do that much with it, but it can be a really great tool to add some more texture to a painting on paper especially. Pencil crayon is great to layer over watercolor or gouache. And that pretty much wraps up this little collage thing. I kind of like how it ended up. I hope you guys liked watching this, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!